Sort of funny we're outdoors today because for me this is the most urban focused Range Rover there is, the Velar. New for 2024, it now comes with, well, a bit less. I'll explain it all in a moment. Welcome to the garage. Subscribe to see the first drives of New Zealand's newest and best cars driven on New Zealand roads in New Zealand conditions. Range Rovers have always been handsome cars, but a lot of the good looks come down to the fact that it's all about function. The Velar is different. It's form over function. As a result, this is the best looking Range Rover of them all. The coupe-like roofline defines Velar. You could say the U in SUV doesn't mean utility here. Instead, it stands for urbane. But don't get me wrong, it is still capable off-road. It is a Range Rover after all. Nothing in its class can match the off-road capability of the Velar. It even has a wading depth. You can drive, and I've measured this through water, exactly that deep, 580 millimetres. But really, would you? The updated lights bring the Velar in line with the new Vogue and Sport, in other words, beautiful. However, that is not really giving the Velar the credit it deserves because, if anything, this car debuted the design language that we now see in the bigger cars. And you know what? I reckon it still looks the best. It's easily the most attractive Range Rover. In many ways, it is the antithesis of the Defender. But it still sports the Land Rover badge, which means it will do the hard mahi and lug the gear too, with one of the biggest boots in its class, 550 litres and up to 1731 with those rear seats down. And also plenty of room in the back seat. Now I've got that passenger seat back a little bit too far. I could have made it look even more impressive, but I don't need to. Plenty of leg room and headroom, which I sort of didn't expect, not just because of the panoramic sunroof that comes with this car, but which obviously robs roof height, but also the slope of the rear roof. I'm quite impressed. Also too by the climate control, not just the fact that you can control the climate in the back seat, but because they have kept the climate control knobs. Now I bring up the knobs because up front they've been swept away, and what is make that the biggest change for 24, the new clean machine. Buttons and knobs are banned, and now there's a single 11.5-inch screen that runs the show. And it's Pivi Pro, which means it's got really cool graphics and fantastic functionality. The question is though, has it got too much functionality? You know, a lot of reviewers have made that comment about the setup in this car, and you know, I can sort of see why. That's because the old layout was pretty tidy, and the second climate screen I reckon added to the premium feel, and it was easier to use on the move. Of course, that is just my opinion, and I can also see what the Land Rover designers were doing with the Velar. This is without doubt about the tidiest interior you'll get on a car nowadays. In fact, I reckon about the only thing neater than this is a military barracks at inspection time. Other than that, the Velar remains pretty much unchanged, especially mechanically. All the same goodies that make it part of the Land Rover family are still underneath me. And in front of me, the power plant. This is a P250. Now in Land Rover terms, it's pretty simple. P for petrol, 250 means 250 horsepower. It delivers 0 to 100 in 7.5 seconds, an economy of 8.9 litres per 100. Which is pretty good for a car of this size. Now there's also diesel and hybrid options, including a plug-in with 63 kilometres of all-electric range. Well, first thing that stands out from a ride point of view is it feels like a smaller Range Rover Sport. Obviously not quite as quick as some of the fast sports. But suspension-wise, it's not hard-edged. It's not some coupe masquerading as an SUV. It's definitely an SUV. This one only has the coil springs. You can option air suspension as well, which gives the option of firmness and also the ability to raise and lower the height. But look, if you need to jack things up and go rock hopping, I really reckon a Defender 90 is probably more your flavour. I mentioned before that there's plenty of room inside, but it's not airy like the bigger Range Rovers, and I think that's more than just size. That coupey roofline means you've got a smaller rear window. I guess that's the price you pay for looking this sharp. And that price, then, well, the new Velar starts at $130,000. This SE version is spec'd to $148,500. That includes the opening panoramic sunroof, privacy glass, and the real Range Rover touch, the black roof. Now the P250, it goes all right. It's not a rocket. If you want to go quick though, there's the hybrid version with 400 horsepower. But one thing that doesn't change with specification, I think this is worth pointing out, every Velar gets 14-way electric adjustable seats, and they are comfortable. And things like these shift pedals, they're metal. I like that. And the result of that is, with or without any extras, Velar feels like a premium car. Righto, time for some consumer advice. I know we're driving the 24 car, but let's talk 23s, because I looked this up. Archibald and Shorter still have some ex-demonstrator models of the pre-facelift Velar, the one that comes with the extra screen for climate control and the climate control knobs. If that's what you like, you can get one of these ex-demos, even better, about $30,000 less. But if you're all about having the latest or greatest, in all honesty, that minimalistic interior is a work of art. You know, for all the style, and I know I've gone on about it, it's actually the modesty of the Velar that impresses the most. It's not as, well, imposing, even ostentatious as the Vogue or the Sport. And it's obviously far better suited to the urban environment. Okay, it hasn't got the go-everywhere ability of those other Range Rovers. Well, I don't think it matters. It still feels like a Range Rover when you drive it. And best of all, it looks like one. Arguably, it does that better than any Range Rover.